And welcome to another episode of 50 Shades and Grey. Well, this week we're looking at dating apps, and you may be coming out of a relationship. And for the first time, you may be thinking, I'm going to try these dating apps. I've heard a lot about them. I'm going to see what they're about. Or it may be that you're going back on the dating apps again, and you might just want to hear a guy's opinion of them, and that might help you understand them more if you're a female or whatever your sexual persuasion may be. So the first thing I would say is dating apps are a platform that's mostly visual to start with. I haven't been on these dating apps for a couple of years now, 2 or 3 years now. So it's been a long time since I've used them, but I don't think they've changed that much from conversations that I've had over the last 6, 7 months and messages that I've been getting through the podcast from mostly women actually asking a man's opinion, why there seems to be so few guys and where are all the men and who are they going after? So we're going to address a few of those today. But the first thing is it's one platform. Okay, and it's mostly visual. So especially guys are mostly visual. So guys will get their phones and the first thing that will catch their eye is how you look. Okay, and they'll be looking at photos. Now, what guys mostly want is they'll all be attracted to different sizes and shapes. So they're going to flick through your photos and they're going to want to see what your size and shape might be. And if you've got photos that are from angles where they're sort of up in the air and you're not showing your full physique, as it were, then they're going to ask you questions and they're going to want to see those. And they say, have you got any other pictures of yourself? So save your time with a load of time wasters. Make sure that you have photos that show your whole person, your whole body. Because again, think of it both ways. If you're looking at other people on dating sites, you're going to want to know the same about them. You're going to want to know height. You're going to want to know what kind of shape they are. And yes, it may not have an overall impact on how they see you, but these are the basic things that, first of all, people want to know. And dating sites are basic. Okay. When you meet people organically, all these things are already done. But when you meet people on the dating sites, they are just looking at what they see. So they're trying to get as much information in as they can from your pictures. Now, you might have some great pictures that are a couple of years old. Don't use them. I don't care if it's your best picture. It needs to be within the last year. So it's okay in the winter using pictures from the summer. That's fine. But don't use pictures from the previous summer or the previous summer because you think, oh, that's a really good picture of me. Because, guys, we're getting older and we change. So people want to see up-to-date photos. And also, when you meet someone, you don't want them to be disappointed in you. You want to go and meet someone that's not going to waste your time. You want them to know what they're going to be meeting at your date if you do meet them. Okay, so these are a couple of really simple things that you can do. Latest photos of yourselves and make sure you show yourself from head to toe as well as different angles as well, because that's what people are going to want to see. Now, if you're going on to the dating site for the first time, it can be quite exciting, but you need to make sure that you're in a place that's ready for this. I think a lot of people go onto dating sites when they've come out of a relationship and they use it to try and get over the person that they've just broke up with. And they might have even been their decision, but they think, do you know what? I need to keep moving forward. Great idea. And I'm going to go on a dating site. Now, there's nothing wrong with just doing drive-bys on dating sites. Maybe just go on now and see what it's like for a while. Just sort of do a spectator view of it if you want, if you will, and just flick through a few girls, a few guys, whatever it may be, and just check out what's about and, where everything lays. Now, I know people that have gone into this, and this is women that I've spoke to, and they've made male profiles so that they can look at what they see as their composition from other women. So people do go into great depths with these apps. And I think you need to think of these apps and take them for exactly what they are. They're an app. They may help you with dating. More than likely, they probably won't. They will frustrate you at certain times. But when you first go on there, you need to be prepared and have thick skin, because you may get a load of likes off of people straight away and it'll be really exciting. But you may start looking through those likes of these guys or girls, again, whatever it may be, and they may not be the people that you would normally go for. And then you may think, well, is this where I am now? Is it, after I've come out of my last relationship, is this where I am? is this my kind of pool that I'm fishing in, or my sea that I'm fishing in? Is this what it's come to? But don't worry, people are going to like each other all the time on there, and people have got to be realistic as well. Now, you may have been the best looking person in your school when you was at school. You're not at school anymore. Okay. Things have changed. So in your head, you may still be that 25-year-old that's, everyone looks at when you go out. That may not be the case anymore. It may be, but it may not. So just be aware of yourself, first of all, I would say, and think about what it is you're actually looking for. And remember, this is a very one dimensional platform. So if you're the sort of person that you could go up to a girl or a guy and you might be thinking to yourself, do you know what? I know I'm not the best looking person in this place, but I know I can make them laugh, or I know I'm really interesting, or I know I've got a dynamic personality and I'm going to wow people over. That doesn't always come across on dating sites. Yeah, you might put in fun pictures where you're riding around horses or juggling or whatever it may be. And people aren't going to see your personality from that. So it's very one dimensional in terms of you may attract in person when you're out and about. You may not get that on dating sites. You may well, but you may not. Okay. So don't be put off by that, because you've got to take all of these people that like you into consideration and look through them. Ones that you want to start conversations with, obviously do that. Have a chat with people and see where that goes. My advice would be keep it really simple. Have 2 or 3 conversations and then have a phone call and then do a FaceTime and then go for a coffee. I found when I was doing it, if you usually haven't met the person within 2 weeks, you probably won't meet them, because you can have relationships, like I said on my last podcast, that go the entirety of text messaging on relationships. And in fact, you never end up meeting them and they're over before you've even met. And you feel like you've been know this person because you've been texting them every day for the last sort of 28 days, but you don't, because you've never met them. And that's the other thing. You can think you've got really great connections with people sometimes. It's not until you meet people in person that you really get an idea of whether these people are going to be right for you. So when you're looking through all these people, don't be put off by if you think in your head that these are not the sort of people that you're looking for. But then you need to consider what people are looking for. Now, I can tell you from experience, if you go on there and you see a really good looking guy and this really good looking guy is in shape, he's going to be looking for someone else that's the same. They're going to be looking for someone else that's in shape. Now, what they may find, and it works both ways with guys and girls, by the way, is that if people work out and they're in shape, they're going to want people that look after themselves as well. Okay. So they're going to want like-minded people, or they need to look like those sort of people as well, because otherwise those girls or guys, they're probably going to go for people younger. So all these questions that you ask and send in to me, say, why is it that, the guys are always looking for girls younger? And what I've found from speaking to both sexes is that the guys that are in their 40s and 50s that may not have looked after themselves but are still great guys are all like, no one's interested in me. And the women that I speak to that are in their 40s are saying, well, they don't want to go out with guys that have put on weight and maybe lost a bit of hair and let themselves go a little bit. So where are we then? Because we've got a lot of people that are in this pool and no one's going to like each other. And unfortunately, the ones that have, maybe looked after themselves a lot better than other people over the years and kept themselves looking younger, they're probably going to go for younger people. And that's my experience with women. If they're really good looking women in their 40s and their 50s, they're able to shop down and go for guys in their 40s. It doesn't mean that guys in their 40s are going to go for them, because it's all relative, but it's the same. So you've got to know what you're looking for, and most importantly, whether this is the platform for you. Now, I am not saying for 1 second that you can't get that guy that you're looking at that has got all the abs, but maybe he needs to meet you. And if he's only going off photos and what he's seeing is not in his head what he wants, then you might not hear back from that guy. But don't be disappointed about that. It's, as my friend said, it's a numbers game. the dating apps. It really is a numbers game. And one girl that I dated several years ago, 7 or 8 years ago now, I remember her saying to me, like, she literally was going on dates all the time, 2 or 3 times a week. And she was like, just constantly dating. And this was all off the apps. But I think she quite enjoyed it. I think she quite enjoyed doing this. I think her view was that she knew what she was looking for and she was going to kiss a lot of frogs if she was going to find it. She was able to have the choice of a lot of people. So that works for her. But you might be someone that's really sensible and thinks, "Do you know what? I don't want to be going out 3 times a week. I've not got the patience and definitely not got the time and probably not got the money either." And that's the case with a lot of guys. That they do get fed up in taking girls out all the time and feeling like they've got to pay for it. And guys have still got that feeling that they do need to do that. And like it or not, they are judged by a lot of women. And many women that I spoke to say, "No, I always pay my way." But guys are judged by a lot of women for that. And I've had experience of that as well, where you are expected to pay. And that's the other great thing for just going for a coffee. It's easy. No one minds buying someone else a coffee. It's sort of £4 or £5 now. You can both have the coffee and it's a short time limit. If you go for dinner, you've either got to decide before you go, you're splitting the bill. The guy is always going to feel under pressure to pick it up. And then within the first 15, 20 minutes whether you want to be there or not, now you've got to have a meal with someone you don't want to be with. So don't get yourself in that situation. A coffee is 20 minutes, 25 minutes. You can make excuses. You've got to go back to work. You've got to go and feed the dog, wherever it may be, and just go your separate ways and then say, "Thanks, had a great time. Really nice to meet you, but you weren't for me." And always do that because it's good manners. Don't just ghost people. It's funny, we talk about ghosting on here all the time and everyone does it. In fact, on one of my earlier podcasts, I had a guest on here and I realized after that guest had actually swiped on me a couple of times on my dating profile. This was years ago. And both times I started a conversation and I never heard back from her. And it wasn't until quite a while after I realised it was the same person that I did a podcast with, but they never knew. And that's what I mean. It's never personal. It's just where people are in that moment in the day, because they could be on a bus, on a train, a little bit bored, pick up the phone. Your picture might come up. They swipe on it. You might start a conversation and they probably think, "Do you know what? I'm on the train for an hour. Why not? I'll have a conversation." And then they may have no interest in you at all, but they'll have a conversation with you because it's passing the time on their journey. They get off the other end. Don't give you a second thought. It's not personal. That's the other thing about these apps, guys. If you're going on them, don't take them as personal. And I think when we're older, we treat them completely differently. I was out on Saturday and I was talking to a couple of my son's friends, and one of them was on Hinge, which I think a lot of people use. And I was chatting to him about it and saying, and I was sort of remembering all the issues and problems that I had. And I was talking to him and I could see his face sort of like, "No, I don't get those problems." But then as I was looking at him, I think he just takes this for what it is. And I think the younger people do. They just take it for what it is. It's a way of meeting people. It's not the only way of meeting people, but it's just a way of meeting people. So they go on there, they chat to people. They don't think anything. If they don't hear from someone again, they don't care. They'll go out and meet people very quickly, say, "Well, if you're around, I'm here, meet up with me." And the other person goes, "Yeah." And I think they don't need to worry. I think when we're older, we place a lot of emphasis on it because you think, "I'm meeting someone." But they really don't care. And I think you've got to approach it like that. That it's a numbers game, and don't overthink it. Just think of it as, "I'm going to go out. I'm going to meet this person. I'm going to see how it goes." And that's it. Go on it when you want to. Come off it when you don't. But if you're going on there after relationships, make sure that you're in the right place for this, because we all can, without realizing it, when we come out of relationships, be extremely fragile. And our egos are very fragile as well. And they're very easily bruised when we come out of relationships, because if you're the one that hasn't wanted that relationship to end, you've probably got lots of questions like, am I still attractive to other people? Am I going to be able to find someone else? Am I going to be alone the whole time? And then we get into this cycle of being alone for a while and then thinking, actually, I'm just going to stay on my own because this is easier. Because the other thing is frightening. The other thing of going out and meeting people and getting rejected by people that you don't even know is frightening, and it can damage our ego. And it's not always good for us, but it's kind of not something you have to do because you've got the choice. You either do it or you don't do it. But it's a way of moving forward sometimes. And what dating apps do give you is they give you a thick skin. They give you a love of yourself as well, because you learn to think, do you know what? I know what I am. I know what I've got to offer. If someone else wants it, then great. If they want a bit of me, brilliant. If they don't, I've not got a problem with it. Move on, Buster. Go to the next one and I'll go my way. And that may be something that you've never been given the opportunity to experience before because you've always met people so easily. But if you're coming out of marriages where you've been very comfortable and maybe not looked after yourself as well as you might have wanted to, and that may be because you've got kids, you've got jobs, you haven't got time for that. But do think about these things of where you are, and don't be surprised if the people that are attracted to you, you may look at and think, well, how does he think he's going to get me? I'm a 7 and he's a 4. That guy probably doesn't think they're a 4. They may be looking at you and thinking the same thing. And it all gets very muddled. And this is not to scare anyone off, but I think, we all have in our heads of where we were before, and maybe we're not there now. And on my little night out Saturday, I went to put on a pair of trousers, and as I pulled them up and did them up, I looked in the mirror with disgust and had this muffin top that I never used to have. And I suddenly thought, where has this come from? I need to get rid of this. I know the sort of person I am. And not that I haven't been to the gym. I've been going to the gym, but obviously not been doing enough CV. So I've got to get myself back into that. And that's not because I'm dating or looking to meet someone. That's because I've always been that sort of character. But the sort of character that I am, I know if I'm getting home from work and I don't want to go for a run and don't want to go to the gym, but I'm going to force myself to go there, I'm going to look for similar sort of characteristics in other people that do that as well, that look after themselves as well. And that's what I mean. So know where you are. And maybe if you think, do you know what? I'm still really, really sexy. I might not have the same body I had when I was in my 30s, but I'm a lot sexier than I used to be. You may be the sort of person that needs to meet people in the flesh, because maybe that won't come across in a photo. Maybe you're the sort of person that takes great photos. I know people that can't take a bad photo. They look fantastic in every single photo that they take. They may not look like that in real life, but they look great in those photos. So dating apps for them work well. But you may be someone that needs to get in front of a crowd, in front of a person, for them to see your aura and how you control a room and how when you walk across the room, you own it. So, you may be the sort of person that dating apps aren't for you, and that's fine. And you'll learn that as you go along. So it's about creating an environment for yourself that you're comfortable in, and expect it to go up, expect it to go down. Learn to laugh at yourself. In terms of what you write on your profile and everything else, that's kind of down to you. And I would say where guys are involved, don't read too much into it. Because I know when I first started, for instance, I took quite a long time in writing down everything and, and trying to make myself appealing and, fun and this and that, and tried to be witty in it. And then I found, one, people read too much into it in the first place. Two, I don't think anyone was even reading it. All they were going to do is look at me, look at the photo. If they fancied me, then they'd go, maybe read more. But the bottom line is it's visual. Dating apps are visual. So the first thing, and 50-60% of them, is they're going to see what you're like visually before they go in further, because you could write the greatest synopsis of yourself and sell yourself, but they won't even get that far if they look at a photo and it's filtered to pieces. Okay. Think about the photo that you're putting on as well. Like I said, obviously you want to show yourself off. Okay. So pick good photos. Don't use filters. Don't have sunglasses. Try to avoid hats as much as you can, guys especially, because women want to know if you've got hair or not. A lot of women are attracted to bald guys. So if you haven't got hair and you think by wearing a hat you're going to cover it up, don't. Just be who you are on there. in terms of your age, I know a lot of people that go on now, they come down in age, especially women, because they think I'm in my 50s and I look great, but I am not going to fancy a 50-year-old man because I know what 50-year-old men look like. So I'm going to put 48. So that's great. And I understand the thinking behind that. However, at some stage, you're going to have to tell the person that you meet your actual age. And that's not always going to go down well. Okay, because you may be thinking, do you know what? By that time, they're going to be head over heels. They're not going to care how old I am. They probably will, because in your 20s, 5, 6 years doesn't matter. 7, 8 years doesn't matter. As you get older, it might matter more to guys than it probably does to women. I've found that women quite happily will date older guys. Older guys, not so much with older women. They do, but not so much. So unfortunately, for women, it normally works the other way. Some women have got the ability to date up and down, but not all women. There are a lot of younger guys that are looking for older women, but then they're going to be a lot younger, I think. And then when I've spoke to older women, they're like, I don't want a guy that's sort of 15, 20 years younger than me because they're still boys. I want a man. I want someone that's lived. So there's all these things that you come into on dating sites. There are all sorts of dating sites. There's Hinge, there's Bumble. I think Bumble's still around. Again, there's Raya, but again with Raya, a young lad that I was speaking to on Saturday, he was sort of saying to me like he's on Raya now. He's a fantastic guy, really nice guys, young 20s. But he said, I'm going on there, and like he said, these women are coming up, and he said I'm up against sort of Premier League footballers. He said, no, I earn a really good looking and I'm a good looking guy, but I'm not them. He said, like, so what sort of chance have you got on Raya? So think about what you're doing. Maybe have a trial version of something first. There are a lot more dating agencies coming up now that do the hard work for you, because that's the other thing, guys. Dating apps, it's like a full-time job. They are hard work, and they are designed to be, as a lot of social media is, quite addictive. So make sure that you know that and pick your times when you go on it. Maybe think, well, I'm only going to do 20 minutes, or maybe only have one conversation a night, every 2 days, every week, whatever you think, and limit the amount of people that you're speaking to, because it gets confusing. If you're having conversations with 5, 6 people, you're going to need a graph or something to work out who does what and what you said to who. It's not worth the effort. So just make sure that, maybe speak to 1 or 2 guys, 3 tops, 2 or 3 girls. If you're speaking to too many, you may be the sort of person that enjoys that. You might want that fun and that roller coaster and that excitement, speaking to loads of people, and that's great. But you're probably going to meet people that are like-minded to you, and then you're both going to disappoint each other maybe as you go along. So with it all, I think make sure that you're keeping conversations to a minimum in terms of the amount of people and the length of time. And remember, because the mistake that I made is, especially in the beginning, I kept thinking, oh my God, this, I met someone, she's great. And I got on really well over text message and on phone calls, and you speak to them, you like their voice and everything can seem great. But as soon as you meet them, can't describe it. And it makes you feel shallow and it makes you sound shallow. But unless you've been in that situation, you won't know what I'm talking about, because there's just something chemistry wise, you can't recreate it. You either you have chemistry with someone or you haven't. It doesn't matter how well you get on with them. And it's probably like having a really great guy friend or a really great girlfriend. And when people say, you took it on great, why don't you date? It's like, yeah, no way. We're good as friends, but I'd never date her. Never date him. He's a great friend. It's like that, and you'll have that. The bonus of that is you'll meet some people that you could be really great friends with and stay in contact, which I have. And 3 or 4 of them I've actually had on the podcast, and we still talk. And that's a great thing as well, that you do meet people. So that brings me to the end of my little run through of dating apps. If you're starting out of them, give me some feedback. Let me know what your experiences of dating apps are like. What you find. Give me your stories. If you find that, if you're an older woman, are you meeting younger guys, or the guys that are around your age, are you just not attracted to? So let me know your feelings on the dating apps. And guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for paying attention for the 25 minutes, whatever it is. And make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow. We're on Instagram, Davison.Elliot, and we're on 50 Shades and Grey Instagram, and we're also on TikTok, 50 Shades and Grey. Make sure you subscribe and follow us on all the platforms, and take care. Speak soon. Bye bye.